if you look at the great geniuses, they were not distracted. They spent long hours in isolation and solitude focusing on their craft. Second thing I would say is we become our conversations. So if you want to upgrade your energy, your focus, your creativity, your productivity, strip out the dream stealers, release the energy vampires from your life, because they are costing you your artistry, your fortune, and your impact on humanity. Third tactic I would say is, if you look at every great artist, they had a dream room. They had a place they would retreat to away from the world, where they could focus on their craft and really think very deeply. And so I think it's important that we all have a space in our lives every day that we retreat to away from interruption, so we do our best work.
Yeah, so powerful. See, I always find that when something does then occur in my life, I find the best thing to go into that space and then go into a form of meditation. I like to call it the alpha state. I learned many of these practices so many years ago. You know, I'll reference Jose Silva's practices and many of these, where you go into an alpha state. You imagine, it's called the 3 screens technique.
You get quieter through meditation or journaling or prayer, or getting into this, what I call tight bubble of total focus in the 5 a.m. club. Then you shift down from beta to alpha. And then if you really want to play with the mystical creative heavyweights, you can actually get to theta. And I believe, you know, as you start to move to these deeper recesses of the human brain, you start to tap into the genius that every human being can access. You see, we all want genius, but we don't structure our lives in a way that allows genius to show up. And Mihai Csikszentmihalyi at University of Chicago coined this term called flow. And I think what you're speaking to is to get into flow. And the great saints and sages and artists and industry titans, they all entered flow. And so the flow state is available to all of us, but most of us are not structuring our lives, setting up our work days, surrounding ourselves with the peaceful people that would allow us to enter the flow state. And if more flow in our days means more creativity, more productivity, more happiness.
Absolutely. No, you've got it. I agree fully. It's amazing. And in fact, I know many of your teachings and everything you put out there is all about optimizing and becoming the best version of yourself. I love that about everything that you put out there. I think it's so interesting with this, the visualization technique, where you imagine your life. You really see the problem, but you have to be in those states. And I like that of flow. That's such a good way of putting it. But when you really go into that, and anyone who's watching now, if you want to try it, you can really do this with 3 different images in your mind. So the first one would be imagining that problem. The second one is taking that problem out, imagining it, but you've got to feel it. It can't just be imagining it with no feeling behind it. You want to really feel behind the state of what you're imagining, a positive feeling towards it. You know, there are different levels. There's, as we know, thoughts become things. And so in order to make it become a thing, which is where we move on to the 3rd screen, you've got to really live it into existence, feel it into existence. And then you move into the 3rd screen in your mind. And in the 3rd screen, you then imagine it really intensely, how it will benefit other people if this issue goes away. And that's where it really, I think, is a beautiful thing, where we're all here to help others. And in order to connect to that, if we recognize that if we stop wanting things for the self alone, and when you stop wanting things for the self alone, you have an opportunity to give so much to the world, to give back. And so we really want that thing to benefit other people. And if that thing benefits other people, then we can imagine what the solution is to eradicate that problem out of our life. How do we get rid of that problem? Okay, that's how we do it. Now, every time you think of that problem in day-to-day life, you literally bounce back into as the solution, as if it's already happening. It's past tense now in your mind. So every time you see it in front of you, you just imagine it's gone, the solution's acted, everything is fine. Do you like visualizing? Do you do any work with?
Well, you know what you said a whole bunch of very wise things, and I'd love to just, you know, chat about some of them. And by the way, I love the sound of your pet seagull in the
Oh yeah.
background. It's,
Oh my God, it's amazing.
You're the first person who I've ever met who has a pet seagull, but I'm sure they're wonderful pets. So, Natasha, you made a very powerful point, which is it's not just a mental exercise. We have to feel visualization. In the 5 a.m. Club, it's a pretty disruptive book. It's not just about getting up at 5 a.m. It's about upgrading your productivity. It's about battle-proofing your confidence. It's about building a life that not only is fulfilling to you and exciting to you and successful, but it's about serving the world. There's a lot of neurochemistry in it, neuroscience, as well as spirituality. And one of the disruptive models in the 5 a.m. Club is called the 4 interior empires, because so many people are talking about mindset. But what I believe is, and you hinted at this, which is, it's not just your psychology. As human beings, we have mindsets. So yes, you have to install the beliefs of greatness and world class, but psychology is only one part of it. We also have what I call our emotionality, our heart set. We're emotional creatures. And then we also have what I call our health set, which is our physicality, our physical lives. Then we have our soul sets, which is our spirituality. And it's only when we do the interior work at 5 a.m. or early in the morning, because it's the time of greatest quietude, when we can make our greatest personal gains, when we work on our mindset, heart set, health set, and soul set, that opens the door to the exterior empires of creativity, productivity, elite performance, prosperity, and happiness. So I think, and I call it the big lie of positive thinking, because a lot of us, what we do is we jump to visualization, or we try to think positively. Look at the world we live in right now. Oh, but let me do my affirmations and think positively. But if you have a positive mindset, but a toxic heart set, because you're full of anxiety right now, which is normal. You wouldn't be human if you didn't feel some anxiety. Or if you've lost your job and you're feeling angry, or you lost a relationship, you're feeling sad. Not attending to those fundamental emotions creates a toxic emotional environment, which creates an energy that affects your mindset. And I think that's why a lot of positive thinking doesn't work. I'm not saying positive thinking isn't valuable, but unless you work on your heart set and purify it and deal with all of that repressed emotion that so many of us have, you're never going to get a world-class mindset.
I love the words that you've used there: soul set, mindset, heart set. That is fantastic how you've created such a profound set there. I think that's really powerful. And actually, what you speak about, I think everybody can take into their day-to-day life every single day, from the minute they wake up until they go to sleep. When something happens to you in that moment, you can react negatively, but if you're on this positive thinking wave and you want to really feel it, then you need to stay in a high frequency. And how are you going to stay in a high frequency? You need to feel it. How are you going to feel it? You must believe it. It's all about there and pausing when something happens. When something happens to you, you must pause and say, why is this happening to me? Why is this in my movie? Why is this going on? What should I learn from it?
I think that's a very good way to look at it. I do believe that in many ways there's an orchestration of our lives. I don't think things are random. I think every person we meet, every scenario we experience, every condition in our life has been drawn into our lives for one primary reason: to help us grow. I think the whole reason for this earth walk is to grow into who we truly are. And so when you realize that, you look at the world we're in right now. There's a global pandemic. A lot of nations are in lockdown. I think there's obviously lots of economic fallout. I mean, the whole world has been closed down. So what's that doing to the global economy as well as domestic economies? And yet, Nelson Mandela became Nelson Mandela in Robben Island. Rosa Parks became Rosa Parks when facing the mistreatment. And what I'm trying to say is, stormy seas make great sailors, and difficult times create great heroes. And so a bad day for the ego is a great day for the soul. Right now, our egoic selves are perceiving the world as a very scary place, a very dangerous place. And yet at a core level, at a deeper level, perhaps at a more truthful level, our world is going through this disruption to take us to a better place. And I would also say for anyone who is scared right now and uncertain, it's very human to do that. But just remember, it is in the difficult moments that we learn. It is in the difficult moments that we are introduced to our strengths. And it is in the toughest times that we learn the noble virtues of courage, honesty, empathy, undefeatability, and love. And I think, the great ones all understand that.